A knock at the gate. The smell of sawdust and asphalt clung to Daniel's hands, a stubborn testament to a long day's work. His work boots, caked in the red Texas clay from a new housing lot, felt heavy with exhaustion. All he wanted was a hot shower and the chicken pot pie his wife, Maria, had promised. As his dark blue Ram truck navigated the familiar, winding road toward his gated community in Cypress, Texas, the setting sun cast long, weary shadows. But the familiar comfort of home was replaced by a jolt of confusion. 2 squad cars blocked his driveway, their presence an unsettling blockade. Daniel slowed, his mind racing. Was it for a neighbor? But as he inched closer, a young officer, Delaney, stepped out. "Stay in the vehicle, sir," Delaney said, a hand raised in a gesture of authority. Daniel leaned out the window, a calm frustration bubbling beneath his tired exterior. "This is my house. I'm just trying to get in." "You live here?" the officer asked, his voice flat. "Yes," Daniel replied, his tone firm. "I built this house. Granger Construction. Look it up." Another officer, Sergeant Rourke, a man with a buzz cut and a gaze that swept over Daniel with practiced suspicion, stepped forward. "We got a call about a possible break-in. Can we see some ID?" Slowly, deliberately, Daniel handed over his driver's license. It listed his address just beyond the iron gate. Rourke scrutinized the card, then looked back at Daniel, an unspoken question hanging in the air. The suspicion was a palpable, suffocating force. Suddenly, the front door of the house opened. Maria, still in her nurse's scrubs, stood on the porch, her eyes narrowing as she took in the scene. "Ray, is everything okay?" she called out. Behind her, their daughter, Sophia, stood barefoot, her phone clutched in her hand. "That's my husband." Maria's voice cut through the tense silence. "You got a problem, you can take it up with me." The officers shifted uncomfortably. Rourke handed the license back, his face unreadable. "Just responding to a report, ma'am. Just doing our job." "Blocking his own driveway." Maria shot back. Rourke didn't reply. He and Delaney returned to their cars without another word. Daniel finally entered his gate code, the black iron doors groaning open. He parked the truck, but didn't turn off the engine. Maria came to the window. "You good?" Daniel sighed. "I don't know yet." Inside, the house smelled of roast chicken and garlic bread, but Daniel's appetite had vanished. Sophia came downstairs, her phone in hand. "I recorded everything," she said. That night, sleep was a distant luxury. Daniel tossed and turned, replaying the scene in his mind. It wasn't just inconvenience. It was a quiet, chilling realization that even in front of the home he had built with his own 2 hands, he still had to prove he belonged. The echoes of a phone call. Daniel was awake before the sun. The weight of the previous night had settled on his chest, a heavy, unshakable burden. He watched the ceiling fan spin until the room was a pale gray with the morning light. At 8 a.m., he called the private security firm contracted by their HOA. A chipper receptionist answered, but Daniel cut to the chase. "I need to speak to someone in charge. This is Daniel Granger from Willow Creek Estates." A man named Ben Lunsford, the head of operations, came on the line. "Mr. Granger, I understand you had an incident last night." "2 officers blocked my driveway with their hands on their guns," Daniel stated, his voice flat. "How does that happen without a damn bit of verification?" "We received a call about suspicious activity," Lunsford said carefully. "A male subject, unknown to our patrol, was loitering near your gate." "You mean me, the homeowner?" Daniel's voice rose. He saw a black man in work clothes and made a judgment call. "I'm terminating my contract with you. Now." Lunsford tried to reason with him, to schedule a meeting, but Daniel hung up. Maria, who was cracking eggs at the counter, raised an eyebrow. "That it?" "That's it," he said. "Next, I'm calling the HOA." By noon, the video had gone viral. Sophia's friend had posted it on TikTok with the caption, "Man blocked from his own house. Guess why?" Comments piled up, fury, curiosity, and a few disbelieving rebuttals. That evening, there was a knock at the door. Standing there was Margie, a woman in her late 60s from 3 houses down. She held a plastic container of peach cobbler. "Daniel," she said, her voice shaky. "I was the one who called." Maria stiffened. "You called on my husband because he looked what? Tired? Dirty? He looked unfamiliar," Margie stammered, her face turning red. I wasn't thinking clearly. I'm so sorry." Sophia's voice was sharp, quiet. "You panicked because he's black." Tears welled in Margie's eyes. "I don't want to believe that's what it was, but maybe somewhere in my mind it was. I'm not proud of that." She placed the cobbler on the counter and left. Daniel stood there for a long moment. "That's the second time in 24 hours someone's tried to explain away how they see me," he said to Maria. The cost of silence. The next morning, Daniel found a thick, unmarked envelope in his mailbox. Inside was a printed screenshot from a viral video. His face, zoomed in, was circled in red marker. Across the bottom, scrawled in crooked ink, were the words, "Don't forget whose neighborhood this is." The cold feeling in his chest was sharper, more immediate than before. This wasn't a mistake or a misunderstanding. This was a threat. He knew he couldn't let it go. Not when his daughter was the one who was truly a target. Maria found him staring at the note. "We need to file a report," she said. "With the same department that sent those two to my driveway," he shot back. They both knew it was a dead end. Later that day, a friend from 2 blocks over texted him. "Asterisk, just so you know, there's a thread in the neighborhood Facebook group. They're talking about organizing a vote to reinstate the patrol contract. Some folks are saying you're overreacting. Asterisk." Daniel felt a bitter laugh escape him. They wanted him quiet, grateful. But for what? For being investigated on his own property? Just as he was considering backing down, a phone call changed everything. A stranger from a neighboring town called, his voice breathless. "I saw the video. Something like that happened to me twice. Just wanted to say thank you for speaking up. Watching you stay calm like that, it meant something." Then the line went dead. Daniel realized his fight was bigger than him. Over the next few weeks, Daniel's story gained traction. Local news stations interviewed him. Flyers accusing him of staging the incident appeared in mailboxes. And then, the ultimate low blow. A note slipped into Sophia's locker at school calling her dad a loudmouth and ending with a chilling warning to be careful where he parks next time. That was the last straw. "I stayed calm. I stayed respectful, and I'm still the problem," he said to Maria, pacing the living room. "People don't want the truth. They want quiet. Because once you speak, they have to see what they've been ignoring," Maria replied. Daniel decided to attend the next HOA meeting. He stood up in the small rec room, his voice calm but firm. "What happened at my gate wasn't just an inconvenience. It was a statement," he said, scanning the room. "The moment I'm seen in work boots and a flannel, I stop looking like I belong. That's a problem." A few days later, a man from his past, Rick Holloman, came forward at a town hall meeting. He was a contractor Daniel had worked with years ago. "I was a jerk to you," Rick said, his voice raw with regret. "I didn't let you use the main trailer with the rest of the crew. I told myself it was a rule, but the truth is, I didn't want a black contractor at the table. I'm sorry." The apology landed harder than any speech. The silence in the room was different now, heavier, more real. The next day, Daniel learned the officers involved had been reassigned to desk duty. But then Maria showed him a social media post. Sergeant Rourke, smiling with a neighborhood group holding signs that read, "We back the badge." They didn't sideline him, Maria said. They rebranded him. Daniel knew he couldn't let it slide. He called a lawyer, then reached out to a community advocacy group. The leader, Dolores Vines, was sharp and strategic. She gave him a pack of information, including a complaint filed against Officer Delaney 2 years prior. A similar pattern. A man pulled over in front of his home. No follow-up. It was proof it wasn't just him. By morning, Daniel had made up his mind. He would hold a press conference outside City Hall. He wouldn't be angry. He would be firm. He would name names and state plainly what the system refused to admit. Maria stood by his side. His crew stood behind him. And his daughter, Sophia, watched from the back. This was not about anger. It was about accountability. Building something new. 2 weeks later, Daniel stood in front of a high school auditorium, a banner behind him reading, Voices of Leadership. He wasn't talking about construction plans. He was talking about life. I built my business with callous hands and 4 a.m. starts. I built my home with pride, he told the students. But I still got stopped at my own gate. That's not just about race. That's about perception. And when you don't control the narrative, someone else will write it for you. A student asked if speaking out made things worse. It might have been easier to stay quiet, Daniel replied. But it wouldn't have been right. Silence might protect you today, but it leaves the next person wide open tomorrow. The applause was steady and heartfelt. Students came up to him afterward, sharing their own stories. Daniel realized he wasn't alone. That night, he finally finished a cedar planter box he had started weeks ago. He filled it with soil and planted lavender and sage, placing it by the front porch. The next morning, neighbors walked by. Some waved. One even stopped to compliment the flowers. Daniel didn't wave back out of habit anymore. He did it with purpose. The changes were slow, but real. Sergeant Rourke quietly resigned. Officer Delaney was transferred to desk duty indefinitely. The neighborhood patrol firm was not reinstated. And the HOA? Elections were coming up, and Daniel's name had been nominated for the board. He hadn't accepted yet, but he was thinking about it. Because sometimes the only way to fix a broken gate is to hold the key yourself.